Hey there, and howdy, partners. Welcome to Retro Repair Roundup episode, whatever number we're on, 28. I don't know. I don't numbers, math, things. I don't know. Anyway, tonight we have an excellent show on deck for you with our wonderful guest, John Bumstead, artist and recycler extraordinaire. Before we get to our topic of the evening, let's do a quick around the table here. First off, your host, you got me, Joe of Joe's Computer Museum. You've got Trina of Trina's Technobabble. You have Javier of Adventures in Retro Computing. You have Ron of Ron's Computer Videos, who I think took a nap and fell asleep or something. He'll be along eventually.
Oh, there he is. Look.
I don't know. And then we have our wonderful guest, John Bumstead. Remember that this channel survives on support from people like you. Thank you. That's your little PBS thing. So remember to lasso the like button and spur that subscribe button and all the other YouTube-y stuff so that people know about this cool channel and our cool podcasts and all the other, how many more times can I say cool in the same sentence? Cool stuff. Cool. That's cool. So that said, we have a really cool topic and a really cool guest tonight. Again, John Bumstead. And we're going to just kind of get straight into talking with our guest because he has a really cool story to talk about. Now, later on in the show, we would like to be able to take questions from the audience about the topics we're going to speak on. So throw those questions in the chat, and we'll make sure that we can do our best to grab those questions.
And I was just thinking, what I'm going to do is open up Word on my laptop here, and that way, if anybody has a question,
Word. We have a shared Google Docs page.
Oh yeah, I could just use that. Yeah.
Just put it at the bottom.
Okay, all right.
Anyway,
I have paper.
Yeah, if anybody,
I can write it down.
God, we're old
school.
Word. Hold on, let me launch Word 4 on my Pumpkintosh here. So
but
anyway.
I will type out any questions that come through as John is talking.
Cool. Awesome sauce. So let's get started. Hello to our wonderful guest, John Bumstead. Why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are, what you do, and all of that magic.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. This is really cool.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm John Bumstead. I was in the corporate world for 14 years, and then I got depressed and really needed to change. So I realized I could, buy things on Craigslist and then sell them on eBay and make a little bit of money. So that was as much of a business plan as I needed. I quit my corporate job and I started my business, Roadkill Incorporated. And for the first couple of years, I bought on Craigslist and sold on eBay. But through that process, I found electronics recyclers, and where there are these magical wonderlands that have millions of devices, and so I started buying in bulk from them, just hundreds or thousands of old devices at a time that were broken, and then I would fix them and I would sell them on eBay, or ultimately the majority of my sales these days are volume, so I'll sell 10 packs or 20 packs of old computers. Wow. And so that's been the basis of my business for 15 years now, just buying from recyclers, either fixing stuff or not fixing it, and then just sorting it and selling it off to people who deal with that. So that's kind of the basis of what I do. I make a lot of art. There are a lot of machines that have interesting GPU defects and a lot of broken screens as well. So I've always done photography. So what I do is I bring up my photography on machines with the defects, and then I provoke the defect into producing artifacts on the screen, and then I photograph the screen affecting my photographs. So that's kind of a way to
very cool.
Very cool.
I like that.
So, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the business, because as I find broken machines that have weird quirks, then those become, then I switch into art mode and don't get any work done that day because I'm, doing. Yeah, so the art has actually cost me a lot of money because instead of making money with art, it's cost me a lot of money because I, stop and then do art instead of doing my job. So,
Flipping them,
but
yeah.
that's but that's
I have the same problem. I have lunch and take a nap and wake up 2 hours later, and the stack of things that I have to build and ship out didn't get any smaller. It's amazing. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. So where do you find a lot of this stuff that you pick up? Are you picking it up and just like you said Craigslist and eBay, but are you also like going to scrap yards? Are you going to like auctions? How are you doing that?
It's pretty much recyclers. I mean, there are, I don't know, a few thousand recyclers in the country. And the way I figured out how to deal with recyclers is I found them on eBay, basically. And you can identify them pretty easily because if you look at their listings, they have sort of recycler material, like, old stuff, old routers, old printers, just you can kind of spot a recycler. And if they're, I do specifically MacBooks, that's pretty much my product line. But if a recycler is selling MacBooks on eBay, you pretty much know they're desperate. You pretty much know they don't have a person for that. So I learned that I could contact them and, say, hey, whenever you get that kind of product, I'll be your guy and I'll just take all of it. And so then you take that relationship offline, and years later they're still calling you up and saying, hey, I got 100 MacBooks. So that's basically where and there are a lot of rules to dealing with recyclers that, like,
nobody tell us Mac 84 because then he'll compete against anyway, go ahead.
There's so many recyclers that, I mean, there's room for 1,000 of me, and so much stuff gets scrapped. So I encourage everyone to go deal with recyclers, but it's tricky because in a normal sort of customer vendor relationship, like, okay, I'm the customer and I call the shots because you're lucky to have me as a customer. But the recycler world is backwards. They see someone like me as a service provider to take away, like, I'm the trash guy for Macs. Like, so it's my job to take away their Macs. And if I don't do that job, or I only take half of the Macs, what happens if your trash person only takes half your trash? You find another trash person. So they see someone like me as a service provider to reliably take away their the category of stuff that I buy. And so I'm lucky that they're selling to me as opposed to the other way around. So that's the main element of recyclers that is just different than like walking into a retail store. Like, if you walk into a recycler and say, like, hey, I want to buy one computer, they'll be like, we don't have time to deal with one computer. Maybe if you want to buy a pallet, we'll think about it. But so you have to be like reliable. You have to take everything they offer you. They'll accept low prices, but they just want it gone quickly. They want you to be a service provider that takes everything of like one category. So it's tricky, but once you establish that relationship, you can do pretty well.
Cool. And so you say you focus mainly on the MacBooks. Do you have a specific vintage you stick with, newer than or older than one specific region or anything? Or
it's old stuff, because recyclers, they have a few years old to prehistoric. So the majority of what I deal with now is still like 2012 era, although I'm starting to get a lot of like up through like 2016 MacBook Pros. So yeah, and even newer than that. But it does tend to be large volume of pretty old material.
Cool.
So and go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. You were gonna continue.
And recyclers scrap retro generally because they don't see it as like worth their time. So, but I've learned if you are willing to pay them, like give them a list of everything you'll buy and pay them a significant amount of money, then as that stuff comes down the line, they might actually bother to bend over and pick it up, and instead of letting it just get scrapped. So one benefit of, you know, the value of retro going sky high in recent years is that, you know, I can now offer them, you know, $60 for Commodore 64 or something. So whereas 10 years ago when I was asking about retro, they were just like, no, we're not even going to consider thinking about saving it for you. Now, because the money is more, I've actually been saving a lot of retro products, which is pretty cool. But by default, all of your favorite retro machines are destroyed at recyclers all over the country. And it's just sad, and no one knows. It's an insular industry that's in rural areas and giant warehouses, and you know, they don't tell the world what they're doing. So yeah, no one knows. It's really sad.
You're right. A few years ago, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I found a guy in eBay that he had a lot of I don't think in his yard or something like that. He had sheds full of Apple IIs, and they were all the cables were cut. So I know they were from schools, and he had like tons and tons, and in a very, very bad, you know, all dirty, and you know, and he just had tons and tons of those. So
yeah. The way recyclers deal with stuff is there's like almost like an assembly line, except it's like a disassembly line. They're like taking things apart, and they have these giant open face boxes on pallets. And as the stuff comes by, they just and there's literally like an open face pallet for MacBooks. And, you know, a 2015 MacBook comes along, they just, and it lands on top of, you know, a bunch of others and just goes, and, you know, and then they'll offer me that pallet, and it's like, well, it's the most valuable. The computers are the most valuable, the highest concentration of valuable elements in any product we produce, you know, and then we just destroy it. It's just so bizarre. It's really strange.
And it's like with the inevitable march of technology, people they get rid of these machines, not realizing they still potentially have actual computing value or capability. And then if nobody wants it, it gets shredded and turned into metal pulp. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, well, it's the way I describe recyclers. It's a game of Tetris in a warehouse. Like there's a guy managing the warehouse. It's a big space. Big chunks of things are coming in, and they have to clear it out before it gets full. And I have a lot of sympathy for them because they just don't have time. You know, you can't deal with everything. They don't even want to break down a pallet because, you know, if you break down a Tetris piece into 100 tiny pieces, it's like game over, you know?
Yeah.
So, and they're all about money. Like you can scrap a laptop, scrap meaning break it down into component elements, you know, metal, plastic, logic board, all that, and then sell it to people who deal with those elements, and recycle them, and get about $10 or like $8 to $12, depending on, you know, the market. So they're always in their mind like, okay, I can get $10 if I scrap this, and that's the easy way. So they might know that, you know, okay, if I sell these individually, I'll get $20, but they're in their mind, they're like, is that even worth it? You know, because of all the labor and all the things like that. And so often
it's that processing overhead. Yeah. Does it work? Does it not work? Does it have the adapter? What kind is it? What box should I shove it in? And you got to have somebody who knows how to do all that.
And it gets much worse than that too. There are recycling certifications, like R2 is the big one. And those put all kinds of restrictions on what they can do and who they can sell to. And dictate the level of data destruction that is required, and the documentation and the testing. So all of this stuff adds an effective cost that tanks the viability of it. So again, if that laptop is something you could sell for $20, well, if you effectively have a $10 processing fee for all of the recycling requirements, and you have to buy a $5 license for a disk wiping system that produces a data destruction document, that tanks the viability of selling for repair and reuse at all. And so much stuff gets scrapped, and they do so much greenwashing. They say, hey, zero landfill, everything recycled. And what people aren't realizing is when they say everything's recycled, they're taking a lot of good devices and destroying them. Yeah, they're recycled, but as they always say, reuse is better than recycling. And so they're not really living. They're saying reuse is better than recycling, but they're not living by that.
Yeah. But that's where folks like you come in, who can make these partnerships with them and get them reused. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there aren't enough of me, and there aren't enough people building these relationships. And there are so many forces that are trying to stop what I'm doing, even like demonize what I'm doing, and then there are things like, we'll talk about like the software locks, like activation locks that, even if I get machines, if they're activation locked, the board is scrap basically. They're not stolen. It's that institutions are dumping 1,000 machines because it's like they're 3 years old. It's like we renew our machines every 3 years. So, okay, we're going to dump our last 1,000, and they're probably going to get destroyed. So why even spend the hour to go through and lock them, unmanage them? And so the recycling industry is complicated, and that reverse dynamic I talked about, that also is in play between the recycler and their donating customers, because they're lucky that place is giving them the machines. So the number one question people ask is, well, why do you buy locked stuff? And it's like, well, the recycler is lucky to be getting the stuff. So if they put demands on their customers, that truck is just going to go down the street and dump it with the next guy. So that's basically what it comes down to. And then when I buy, it's like, well, the recycler might not even know what they're selling me. It's just like, hey, we got this pallet here,
Yeah.
And and the same thing goes. Like if I say, well, I only buy stuff that's not locked, then they'll be like, well, screw you. Yeah, we'll sell to someone else.
I'm not going to sort it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they don't bother to unlock. There's also something called remote management, which is MDM. The institutions put this management client on all their machines. And that is just as bad as activation lock, because it effectively bricks machines as well. You get a MacBook, it's like, whoa, look at this beautiful 2019 MacBook. And you step through the startup wizard and you log into Wi-Fi. And then it says, oh, this MacBook is managed by whoever. Here, log in to whoever's system. And you don't have that login. So it's a bricked machine. And that prompt is triggered by a handshake between Mac OS and Apple. And Apple is effectively coming out of nowhere and saying, no, that machine will not do anything in this world unless it can log into that login. So it's bad. It's bad.
Wow. And so the entire activation lock is basically making this large world of potentially usable machines scrap, so that they're just junk. They're basically junk, right?
And that's stupid, because there's a lot of good components in that machine.
Well, we used to be able to say that, but now Apple is serializing a lot of components. So
you can't take from one to the other. Yeah.
You can, but like on a 2020 M1, if you swap the screen assembly to another machine, you lose the True Tone feature. And if you swap other components to another machine, you might lose like Touch ID or Face ID. So
Oh,
Wow.
if you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of machines, like you're ending up with machines that you cannot even sell in a proper retail environment because they have all these caveats like, oh, this machine can't do these things, you know. So but yeah,
So I
yeah.
guess my question on that would be, what are your thoughts on the motivation behind that? Do you think that is a corporate America or Apple's customers demanding
Yeah.
that feature? Or do you think that's more pushed by Apple to say, ha ha ha, we can sell more Macs? Or is it some mix? What do you think?
It's a mix. You know, there's that saying like, if it is it between incompetence and malevolence, it's incompetence 99% of the time. And I don't believe it's an evil plot on Apple's part, really. I think they benefit from it, but I don't think it was necessarily planned that way. I mean, we all fail to look in the rearview mirror and see the carnage that, you know, our lives cause, you know, and Apple's the same, you know. But yeah, it's a combination of a badly designed lock, the apathy of these institutions, the fact that the steps to remove the iCloud from a device, while that not that difficult, anytime you require the general public to do anything, they just don't most of the time, especially when you have to look it up and go like a step 1, step 2, step 3, you know. So yeah, it's just a perfect storm of that kind of thing. And my feeling is that you know, activation lock is just software. And the
Yeah.
beauty of software is that it can iterate. You know, you put it out in the world, test it, you get feedback, and then you can iterate. So but the problem is the people who are on Apple's side, they tend to, it's like a fundamentalist religion for them. Like no, it's perfect. This is the way it is, the way it has to be. Can't
Should be,
change.
yeah.
Yeah, but it just isn't the case, and there are so many good ideas out there to how to improve it. For example, like you could imagine if you had like a lock machine that someone gave you. You could let's say you log into your Apple account, you click a button, you enter the serial number, you associate your account, which
With
you know
yours.
that's your integrity, you know, with all your information. You associate your account with that serial number. Then Apple looks through their vast store of data they have on that serial number and on you. And if no one, if they don't get anything negative within 30 days, they could auto unlock. And on the flip side of that, if your machine's stolen, you log into your account, mark it stolen, and then when someone requests it unlocked, they don't unlock it. So another solution that I think is maybe even better is just enable activation lock while you have a warranty on your computer. And then when the warranty disappears, the lock disappears. If you want the lock to extend, buy Apple Care. You get it for another 2 years. If you want it beyond that, maybe Apple could even make more money. They could charge like $10 a year for however long you want that feature. But the cool thing is, it's not something Apple would really have to pay attention to. They just disconnect it once. That person stops caring about the computer and therefore is no longer paying for that feature anymore. So there are a lot of ways it could be handled, but yeah, we'll see if any of that ever happens.
No, I think that's a really good point, and a much better way of doing it than they're doing it now, because that, you know, just lends those things to being reusable. I mean, my old Apple II doesn't have activation lock.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, I'm kind of getting into retro. Hey,
Ron's awake.
Yeah.
Hi, Ron.
I was awake. It was just really late dinner. Sorry that I'm late.
that's okay.
Ron's here.
oh no, good to see you.
Good to see you
Cool.
as well.
So let's talk about the bear in the room, or the elephant in the room, or I don't know, whatever the
That's
other
not a
analogy is.
polite way to refer to Ron.
Oh, Karina.
It's more of like a manatee. 'Cause
Yeah, the manatee in
the-
the room,
you
yeah.
get the bristly, kind of the slow moving.
Do you swim through the water and bump into the glass? You do
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's clear. How am I supposed to know? I'm just a manatee.
that? So
Well, you're not a walrus.
let's talk about the Ron
Cuckoo
in the room.
cuckoo.
No, I'm kidding. Activation lock. You had some recent thoughts about that, John. And then somebody who maybe we'll talk about, who maybe we won't, thought you had different thoughts about that and made some stuff up. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So recently, I got a lot of publicity on the topic. I got a Vice article, and there were some other articles, and I had a TikTok that went a little viral and things like that. And so when that kind of thing happens, when you get a Vice article, there are these like copycat articles that appear, like people who are tasked with like writing 10 articles a day. They just grab a Vice article and kind of skim some stuff out, and they put out they put out their own article, and generally that's pretty harmless because they're generally perpetuating the information fairly well. They mess it up a little bit, but who cares? But so this guy at Apple Insider decided to do sort of a hit piece, and he just sort of perpetuated the negatives that are always associated with activation lock, which is that if it's locked, it's stolen. If I'm buying locked stuff, I'm breaking rules. I have a business, so I'm all about money. Just kind of that kind of stuff. And it was really badly written. And I think on its face, like you read it, and it's just like, this is not high quality journalism. So, but I'm trying to just think of it as a positive in a way. Like if you get stuff like that, maybe that means it's getting through. If the people are starting to yell and scream. But it was really, in a way, it was it felt good because the community supported me. Like like Ron, you did. My friend Ernie Smith, who's a reporter, the Fight to Repair newsletter, they did an article and they said, what the hell, Apple Insider, what are you doing? So it's like I think everyone saw.
Hey everybody, how's
What was that noise?
But
It was me. Sorry, I was actually looking for Louis Rossman. I remember the name, but I didn't remember his name. But I would remember the guy that he always buys. The right to repair, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's one of the biggest activists, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But yeah,
cool.
so that whole thing is just kind of faded away a little bit, and I thought of doing sort of like a response to it, and I actually recorded something, but then I listened to it, and it just like I'm not even going to give him that. Like it just sounded like whining. So
Right.
yeah.
Well,
any publicity is good publicity.
It didn't sit well with me that it was that basically they were like, yeah, maybe, and so we're just gonna block everybody rather than address anything that anybody was saying. I was like,
yeah.
So
he said he told me, like, if you have any issues with it, let's discuss it and tell me what I got wrong. And I literally posted like 20 tweets, just like outlining everything. And he went through and deleted everything related to the whole thing. He didn't he block you, Ron? I think he did.
Yeah, because I was like, well, hey, hold on one second. Why are we why are you not addressing that? No, it was just simpler to block people.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what really kind of stung. Like if he was willing to talk and willing to be reasonable, then we could just be like, okay, you have your opinion and we have our opinion. But he just was clearly someone who thinks he can just erase the bad stuff out there, you know.
Yeah.
Silly people. Don't
Yeah.
be silly like them. Be silly like me.
Just a question. Is Apple Insider like associated with Apple?
No.
No?
It's
Not
just
really.
like it's a website.
Yeah,
you know,
I
really.
know the website, but I didn't know if there was like a tie-in in the back end to Apple.
Not really. I mean, they're very pro Apple. And honestly, I part of my disappointment was just that I've always thought highly of Apple Insider. You know, it's just one of those news sources that's always out there, always, you know, you always see them. So it was like I had no, I didn't realize they were into this kind of stuff, you know. So that was kind of unfortunate. Yeah.
Bad people. Don't be bad. Be good. You like Ron, be good.
Yeah, just be good.
Johnny, be
It's
good.
that easy. So we've been gathering. I'm sorry, my brain just reset there. Did you have something else you wanted to say? I cut you off, I think.
Oh, me?
No? Yes.
What else? No, I think that pretty much covers it. I don't think Apple's ever going to just say, like, you know, okay, you win, we're going to start, you know, unlocking everything. But what they have been doing is sort of quietly, they do have an unlock procedure. It's just that if you're a recycler with 500 MacBooks that are, you know, that are 5 owners down the road, they don't respond to you. You know, there's no mechanism for quantity that recyclers get to get them unlocked, and that's part of the problem. But they do have a retail mechanism. You can go on the website and put in the serial, and maybe they'll unlock you. And they have been easing up on old devices like iPhone 4 and iPhone 5. And so I've been telling collectors, like, if you have a stash of old stuff, if you have, you know, iPad 2s, you know, go on there right now and see if you can get them unlocked. So I don't think Apple is ever going to officially concede, but I think if they get enough pressure, they might just slowly, kind of quietly let up on the situation.
Okay.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
I'll honestly tell you, I think that the real pressure is going to have to be regulatory, and it's probably going to start in Europe. If you look at the regulatory might that's been kind of leveled against Apple over there with trying to get them away from proprietary connectors and things like that on devices, to just get them to say, listen, I mean, well, look at what's going to happen with the new, the next version of iPhone, that they've already said, yes, it'll be USB-C. It's not going to be Lightning anymore. So that was one small victory to try to consolidate connectors and things like that, and try to reduce some post-consumer waste. So something will have to finally give on the whole right to repair issue, especially like iCloud activation lock. That it's like, you know, if the it goes into a registry or something like that, if no one comes forward in 90 days or something, then it's relinquished to whoever the current owner is, and that person's name is on file as being the person that has that device. So if something comes forward in the future, then they'll be like, okay, well, there's a point of contact of where this hardware ended up. May not be legally actionable or anything like that for like a claim of like, oh, well, you know, I didn't really sell that, you know, or something like that. But at least there would be okay, well, now we know that this one person has like 1 million claims against them that they didn't sell something. We can investigate what's going on with your operation or whatever. But, you know, folks where it's just like, you know, I'm trying to keep stuff out of the landfill, you know, a little assistance, please. So I don't know. That would be my guess, is kind of where like the pressure is going to start or continue to mount, and then maybe we get something done.
Yeah, I agree. So the right to repair bills that are in existence right now, they kind of they don't really address these kinds of issues, and that's fair. Like, I see right to repair as like version 1.0. I think version 2.0 of right to repair will start addressing more of these kinds of issues, you know. And the New York bill that passed specifically excluded like software locks. That was one of the things that the industry came in and said, you better take that out, you know. So yeah, it's not in the current round of right to repair, but hopefully once right to repair 1.0 is nationwide and established, then the next wave can take on a lot of the issues that we see in refurbishing, which is software locks, antitrust, which is access to marketplaces. I'm drawing a blank, but there are a few more sort of issues of those types. Planned obsolescence. You've got the things like the right now in MacBooks the drive is part of the board. So recyclers used to be able to pull the drive from thousands of machines and then sell the machine off, but now they're faced with the drive is the board, so they can't avoid those crazy certification requirements in terms of data destruction anymore by simply pulling the drive. Now they pull the board and scrap the board and scrap the whole machine. So issues like that, hopefully the next round of right to repair will see them addressed.
And that also kind of comes back to what you're talking about earlier, like where a recycler, it's going to be just faster for them just to scrap it and sell it off.
Yeah.
It's faster for them just to scrap the whole laptop now instead of taking the time to take the board out. To because they have to destroy the board, they'll just scrap the whole laptop, and there goes working screen and so forth.
And certainly it gets even worse than that. Probably, I don't know a number, but a huge chunk of institutions of the world now specifically pay recyclers to destroy the whole machine.
Right.
So and in that case, there's a legal contract in place. I mean, even Apple does this. I've met recyclers at repair conferences. I met a woman who owned a recycler who was contracted by Apple to destroy thousands of new iPads. And she was showing up to this repair conference asking, what's the best way for me to destroy these iPads? So yeah, that's the worst form of... Oh, well, see, that wouldn't work because a wood chipper would produce... No, but it's funny. A wood chipper would produce like big chunks, and the shredding machines out there, they cost like $1 million, and they shred down to like the millimeter because they're so paranoid that the chips in an SSD, if a half-inch square got through the shredder, then some person could take that chip and then get some data out of it. So they're so paranoid that the shredders cost $1 million so that it can literally pulverize the stuff into dust. It's just it's crazy. But yeah, contracts are in place so that the biggest institutions' materials are completely destroyed. So that's the worst side of it.
So I think the takeaway I'm getting here is if you're a personal user and you've got an old laptop and you want to get rid of it, unlock it.
Yeah. Make sure you unlock it.
Depending on how old it is.
Well, true.
Yeah.
And for Ron has an interesting insight into this, working for a university, having lots of managed devices, Ron, get on those conferences and tell them to unlock the computers.
Oh, actually, and that's something that we deal with all the time, and that was something that that we initially kind of talked about, was that there are unlock and send it to Joe. There's a lot of times where devices will kind of exit our ecosystem and they'll end up in the hands of like a relative or something, and it'll go years and years where someone will say, "Oh my gosh, like I got this from my cousin for Christmas. They gave me their old iPad, or something." And it's like I can't do anything with it. It's still tied to your organization and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, have your cousin reach out to us and let us know and give us permission, and I can release it from the mobile device management setup. Any kind of iTunes stuff, it'll be up to them to maybe assist you with, but at least I can help you with the MDM side of things. And so we go through and we purge those devices. Well, now we have a procedure where after several years, if you don't see a device, we just purge it, because it's kind of to organizations' benefit to get those machines out of your ecosystem, because you're paying a license to keep those inside your MDM solution. So why would you do that? So if you don't see a device for 3 years or something, it never phones home to your MDM. You release it. Actually, well, you don't actually release it from Apple. You just remove it from your MDM. So you're not paying a license or anything to it. And then if there was a time in the future that it needed to be reinserted for law enforcement or something like that, you could go through and you could say click, click, and now it's back in your organization. So if somebody were to reset that device, then they would get they'd be presented with trying to reconnect it to your organization as part of the activation process. But that's knock on wood, has never occurred.
That's great. But yeah, unfortunately though, most organizations won't release stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone out in the wild calls up and says, "Hey, I got this laptop," they're more suspect of it than anything. Then they're just generally not gonna. And I've received hundreds of laptops that were just all MDM, and MDM is as bad as activation lock. Really, it's even trickier, because you don't. At least with activation lock, it's just there. Like, oh, lock, that's it. With MDM, you have to wipe the machine, reinstall the OS, log into Wi-Fi, and see if it comes up or not. And it's such a time waster. A refurbisher
that's
is
the other big thing.
Not gonna go through the mess, because it just takes hours and hours and hours.
Time is money, and it's really tough to justify, hey, why am I spending all this time and trouble on this little this device that if I were to turn around and resell it, I mean, it's not a huge money maker and things like that. So I mean, I can't invest 16 hours of time on the phone just trying to get something unlocked. So I get it.
So just a comment that Biggie John had made in the chat, that Dell in Austin, Texas has an agreement with a local reseller, Discount Electronics. They have a $99 computer deal for all 2 to 3 year off lease Dell corporate desktops and laptops, which is great, because it puts those computers into hands of people who just need an average home computer to go Facebook, email, bank.
Cool.
They don't need those top of the line computers to do home stuff.
And we have a lot of those people that flip those off-lease corporate machines, but then again, Dell has a thing in place, and their resellers have a thing in place to get those out of that corporate ecosystem and get them kind of into like that recycler thing. Because it's even like in the old days, there would just be like a label on the side of the machine that would just have like the Windows just like a Windows key on the side of the machine. So for a lot of people, it was cheaper. They would just go out to these recyclers and pick up like a bunch of old machines, and there's my Windows. I've got real deal Windows licensing then. But now Microsoft is even, so everybody is kind of dipping in on that, where now they'll have like a rebuilt version of like a Windows license. So it'll be, Windows 10 for recyclers. I can't even remember exactly what the naming of it is, but I've seen that, the COA things, how they've rebuilt those for recyclers. So those are people that are taking a responsible sort of thing, where they realize that it's like, if I don't do something, I will have regulatory might come down on my head that will say, well, you've got, like, look at Uncle Mike's, where he's like out there at the recyclers like every day, where people are just scrapping machines because they don't know what to do. And so it either ends up shredded at some precious metal recovery operation, or it could be shifted, and now it's in like a private school, or now it's in like a community center or something like that, where all those machines get new life. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that. So it's nice that like Dell and other companies are trying to make that as easy as possible for folks, but I wish Apple would kind of get on board with that.
I used to do that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, Microsoft requires you purchase a refurbished license for every machine, which, quite honestly, I'm cynical about that, because I don't think it should be legal. I mean, the machine originally came with a license, and if you have property rights, ownership rights, you should be able to pass that license on.
Right.
So I think that's something that needs to be taken to court. So if anyone knows a billionaire, that's a good issue to go to court.
Well, I think that Microsoft thing, though, with the licensing on that, if it's a corporate machine, and that's the only way I've seen these, is like if it's a like Windows Vista for Business or Windows 10 for Business license, because a lot of those organizations will buy those machines. They'll come individually licensed for something like Windows or whatever, and then when that machine activates on your network, KMS or whatever licensing schema you have kind of in place will absorb that license as something that then becomes tied to your organization. So if you were to then purge that machine, you've still got a license that you've paid for out there that then could go onto a machine that otherwise does not have like individualized licensing. So it could be a VM, or it could be some other like virtualized operation or something, or it could be another device or a bring your own or something that you would then extend that licensing to other people. So kind of technically it gets used, and somebody is holding on to it kind of in a digital sense. So to rebuild those licenses for like $10-15, I think is consumer friendly, because then you're not paying $125 or whatever it is for like a Windows 11 COA.
Right.
So
$175.
Oh, $175. Nice.
Wow.
That's interesting. The problem, though, in the refurbishing world, though, is that it, like I was talking about before, something like that effectively tanks the viability of refurbishing, because, like I was saying, if a laptop has a $20 value, and then there's a $15 or $20 cost, license cost, then it, so you have a lot of recyclers out there selling, laptops with Linux, things like that, because they can't justify the cost of the Microsoft license. So I think a lot of things Microsoft does, I call things like that a lead life preserver. Like, it looks like a life preserver. It looks like it's it looks like it's something that's meant to save someone, but you throw it to that person and they sink to the bottom of the ocean, never to be seen again. So they're doing this kind of thing to kill the refurbishing and repair industry. It's like, hey, we have a solution. We have a wonderful solution, but when you actually get in there and try to use it, it's like, no, the machines you would put this stuff on, you just can't make the math work. It just doesn't work. And so it's, again, I'm cynical.
I think no, I understand though. I think like one of the mistakes that people make is just not being Dell. If you were Michael Dell, this would be no trouble. You just William H would take your phone call, and it would you'd work it all out. But
the one nice thing, though, I will say about Windows 10 when it came out was that you could use not on a corporate machine, but on a private machine. If they had a Windows 7 home and you installed Windows 10 home, you could then use that Windows 7 home key to activate it.
Sure, that they kind of extended and let you.
Right, they
kind of kept some of that licensing going, which
it still works today, because I still use some Windows 7 keys at times.
Yeah.
But a lot of them now are
Windows 11 with the Windows 7 key.
I haven't tried that yet.
It just takes it.
Yeah.
Does it?
Don't use Windows.
Yeah. Or you can just, not use Windows, but then activation lock. And
there are a few instances where Windows is very handy.
OBS
for things.
Can you do Hackintosh?
OBS is one of those.
OBS, pressing all the buttons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway. No, but seriously. So, John, I think now is a good time for us to see if we have any questions from the audience for you.
Cool.
We do have a couple that I think we've kind of already talked on. Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly Shack asked, about an hour ago now, do you deal with PCs and Windows systems with any of your refurbishing and recycling process, or are you just like solely a Mac guy?
I'm pretty much solely a Mac guy, and a lot of that has to do with what I just described. The fact that the Microsoft license kind of tanks the viability of refurbishing Windows products that are as old as I deal with. I do think that's one thing Apple got right. They just give away the OS. That's a very nice thing. But one aspect of this too, like recyclers only get like 5% of the computers they get are Mac. The rest are PCs. Mm-hmm. So, and that's part of how I'm successful. It's like, hey, when you get that palette of Macs now and then, I'm your guy. And ironically, the Macs are the most valuable stuff in their warehouse, but because it's the oddball thing, they're just like, what do we do with that? So, I'm just like the guy who's like, hey, when you get those Macs, I'll take them. But similarly, they also, because it's the oddball thing, they are reluctant to refine specific processes for those Macs. So even if there was some method to, unlock machines or something like that, they're reluctant to implement a specific process just for a small fraction of what they get.
Sorry, Trina and I are simultaneously editing the notes and running into each other. So that's cool. Eric Rangel asked a little bit a while ago, and I think we kind of already touched on this. Do you run any issues with secure enclaves making devices unusable? And I haven't heard secure enclave discussed except at the very lowest hardware level, so I'm not quite sure exactly what he's asking there.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that term. I wonder if he's referring to like BIOS locks or things like that. I'm not sure.
We'll give him, if he's in the chat, we'll give him a second to talk about that. Yeah, the secure enclave stuff is this, at least in the hardware side, it's about like TPM and low-level encryption of the EFI boot sequence and all of that stuff. To try to secure the machine. It's becoming kind of a thing now. Again, as an theft prevention device for mostly on the PC hardware side, because it doesn't have that ecosystem like Apple does.
I don't think there's something over there like that in the Mac.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with it.
Well, we can come back to that. One Bit Video Dreams asks, do you have a Holy Grail retro machine you're looking for yourself personally that hasn't turned up yet?
Oh, me? Yeah, there's a... I collect like Apple clones, and the one I haven't been able to find is... well, actually, no, this isn't an Apple clone. It's a PC, it's a DOS machine. I collect like wedge machines. I like wedge machines. It's the Sinclair PC 200, and it's also called the Amstrad PC 20. It looks like a big black Commodore Amiga 500. So, and they're only in Europe, so that always makes things hard.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's probably just. There's one on eBay. It's like $3,000, but that's never going to happen. Yeah.
Well, not with that attitude.
What did you say?
I said not with that attitude.
I just go.
Got to keep hoping.
Are you scared by events like those that happened to Eric Lundgren in 2018?
Say that again.
you were asked, are you scared by events like those that happened to Eric Lundgren in 2018?
Oh.
What happened to Eddie Lundgren?
I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't know.
He got thrown in. He was an advocate for a lot of various like repair refurbishing issues, and he got in trouble with Microsoft because he was having restore media made in China, and it had the like Microsoft logo on the restore media that he was giving away. So they were basically looking for a way to get rid of him, and that's what they found. They kind of zoomed in on him and then tried to get rid of him any way they could. Kind of, yeah. I mean, I haven't really faced any negative repercussions for doing what I do in terms of activism. But yeah, that's always kind of in the back of my mind. I mean, you know, counterfeiting restore media with the Microsoft logo on it, that's, you know, not smart. But, you know, I think we're all capable of things that aren't smart, and and who knows what could happen. So
Yeah.
And someone has asked, what's your rarest system in your personal collection? Stares at the cat over his right shoulder.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Bill Raskin called.
That might be. Yep. I have a TAM 20th anniversary Mac, but that's pretty boring. This is pretty rare. I'm into Olivetti. Olivetti is an Italian company that's they're like the Gucci of design, like laptop design, and they're famous for calculators and typewriters. But look at that.
Oh, cool.
This is a DOS machine. It's just tiny. I mean, look at how small it is, and it's a voice recorder. And
I see the controls on the front. Yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah. And it also acts as like an answering machine, like a telephone answering machine. And it came in this like leather case, and it has all these really bizarre like add-ons that you connect with these connectors. And yeah, so this is pretty rare. This is pretty rare. It's not as rare as there's a Windows version that's even rarer. But
did you get that from a recycler, or was that something you bought?
That I bought. I got from a guy in like Croatia or something. But most of my stuff I do get from recyclers, but that one was an eBay find.
Weird. It's like an answering machine and a computer. It's like, sorry, I can't take your call right now. I'm in the field with my answering machine.
Yeah.
Cool.
I also collect some red MSX machines. Some of those are really rare. Like in the MSX1 era, it was kind of like the Apple Red thing, you know, like they released like a red device. And every line of MSX machines, not every, but a lot of them had a red version. So like,
Ooh.
So this is a JVC.
What? Oh my God! What?
Pretty.
Yeah.
What?
That is slick.
Yeah.
We need to make you big for this.
Love those keys.
This is solo layout.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I have a I'll show you.
I'm just thinking, you think they would put arrow keys on that machine or something?
Yeah.
I mean, I just
Damn.
There's a white
Yamaha.
There's a white one. There's a white one with blue buttons that I'm still looking for. And
I like
yeah, they're just gorgeous. And there's like, look at that. It's like Ferrari red.
For 3 cartridges.
Yeah, you gotta have 3. I mean,
does that?
Yeah.
And
It's like, is it in a
this
base
comes
and
off.
separates, or what?
Yeah. It comes out. So.
Oh wow.
Oh, that is
Love
cool.
it.
Oh. So now we know
they're
where
so
everybody
funny.
got their docking station idea from.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, so many of these have handles too, and you look at the old Japanese ads, and it's like a school girl walking to school, and she's got her little MSX machine on the handle, and but they're just, I don't know. I have a strange relationship with retro. As an artist, I'm like really into the aesthetics
Yeah.
almost more than using the computers. So I don't know, something like this is just like a sculpture to me. Like it's just, it's art, you know?
Yeah.
I really love those. Like, it makes me think about the Shark Twin Fami, where it's, you know, it's like where it was the Famicom and the disc add-on
Yeah.
kind of in one box, and they had like a red version. They made a red television for all that. It's, I don't know. I think while things were very beige stateside, and computers were supposed to be like kind of all business, and gaming and everything was kind of the dirty secret. I think like the Japanese like leaned hard into like this can be like a lifestyle accessory, or, you know, it doesn't have to be beige, it can be pretty, and make bold design changes or design challenges. So those are beautiful machines.
There was another. Oh, sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's another question that came in, but finish your train of thought first.
Oh, I was just going to say, and MSX is just the wildest thing ever, and it was never in the United States. And they had to comply with the standard, the hardware and software standard. But beyond that, it was just like they could do anything. Like every MSX machine you power on, it's a completely different experience with different apps. And I've got some Middle Eastern ones. That's great. But I've got some Middle Eastern ones that power up in Arabic, and they've got like 30 games in ROM, and it's just like, what?
Oh, wow.
They're just so bizarre. And they'll have like a terminal emulator built in. I have some that have like a cartridge, like tape built in, cartridge port. They're just so strange. They're really, really weird machines.
It's weird that the best we got over here was we had BASIC and ROM. Or it might be like the Commodore Plus/4, where it had like a very like anemic word processor and spreadsheet.
24 characters wide, baby.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I realize now that the Plus/4 is a ripoff of MSX, because it's got the 4 arrows, which all MSX does, and it's got the crappy software built in. That's a straight ripoff of an MSX concept, and they didn't even do it very well.
No. I mean, what would have been smart is if they would have done things like that, but then not put the TED chip in it. Like, just put like, you know, you're gonna need a SID. You're gonna need like try to be a Commodore 64. But if you got to cut some RAM, I guess.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I'm aware of those. I haven't let myself get into those yet. Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, yet is the key word, I think, John.
Yet.
One bit Fever Dreams in the chat had a really cool question. I think is kind of salient here. You laid out the road to initiate a relationship with a recycler, but are you confident they are all approachable that way, or do you like need to have a business identity to interact with them? He feels that he is this utter barrier in his area to making those relationships. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a really, really good question. And yeah, it is hard. It is very hard. It's not like just walking into a retail store. Being a business helps. Presenting yourself as a business helps. Presenting yourself as a service provider helps. Hey, I'm the guy who takes all the MacBooks. Do you have any MacBooks? I want to help you with that MacBook problem. If you have a pallet of MacBooks, I'll pay you a fair price, and I will show up in an hour with the money, and I will take that pallet away. So as much as you can be a service provider for them, they will want to deal with you because you're helping them with their job. But it is hard. A lot of them are certified, and these certifications are evil. With their job. These certifications just make it so that they can't deal with outside parties, and if they do deal with outside parties, they have to comply with all these rules and all this nonsense. So it is very hard. I mean, there's a saying in sales. Like if you make 100 cold calls and you drop 100 cold calls into a funnel, maybe out of the bottom of the funnel, if you're lucky, will come one order. And you have to have that mentality when you're trying to find recyclers, because it takes 100 attempts.
It's a numbers game.
You know,
right.
Yeah.
Tell the sales guy, I get it.
And I, you know, like I said earlier, I find them on eBay. And so when I find one that's obviously a recycler, they're selling some products that are similar to what I would buy, I message them and well, first I buy one thing, then I'm a customer, then they kind of owe you a little attention. So I email them on eBay and say, hey, like the product, thanks a lot. If you get hundreds of those, let me know, I'll take them all. And then you start establishing that relationship. And so it's very hard to build that relationship, but you can get $1 million worth of stuff over a decade if you have a good relationship. So it's worth doing.
Wow.
So I have a question for John. Were you
Sure.
the buyer on eBay that bought my 3 dead MacBooks?
I haven't been buying MacBooks lately on eBay, so if it was recently, probably not. But
okay,
yeah,
I just
you never know. Yours specifically? Okay.
Yeah.
No,
I had got a 63 laptops from a company that I deal with, and there was
okay.
two MacBook Pros, and a MacBook Air, and they just were dead. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna sell them as is for parts. And somebody on eBay bought them. So I was like, maybe it was you that bought those 3 MacBooks.
Probably not, but it could have been. I mean, there are a lot of people like me just
Yeah.
searching for MacBook lot on eBay 10,000 times a day and grabbing stuff.
Mm-hmm. But it's more advantageous if it's where you want to actually make a process out of it, where you're grabbing lots of chunks, processing chunks, selling chunks, repeating that. Mm-hmm. I think it's to go back to the question, getting that relationship with recyclers is a lot harder if, again, you just want one, because they're going to be like, you're wasting my time. Yeah. I need to spend time on the stack, processing the stack. Stop calling me.
Right.
Yeah. And like I said before, you're their trash person for that particular product. So if you don't take out the trash, they're going to find another trash person. So yeah, unfortunately it's tricky if you just want one machine or you just want retro. Or a lot of the retro I get because I'm buying the pallets of MacBooks and they're just being nice to me. So and I'm not saying it can't happen. I don't want people to not try. Sometimes you get a small rural recycler and there's just a nice guy who wants to salvage old stuff and he'll put aside the Ataris for you. It can happen.
So Everything is Broken Garage wants to know, what is your biggest score?
There have been a lot of them. A couple of years ago, I bought a guy in, I was buying Ataris on eBay and I did exactly what I described. I emailed him. I said, hey, you seem to have a few Ataris listed. How many do you have? Let me just buy them all. And well, he was like, oh, I think I have like 30. And then I have like a convention, like an Atari convention setup. And I was like, what? And so, but anyway, so we worked out a deal. I paid him like a couple grand and I bought this massive pallet. And what happened was there's this energy company called Tennessee Valley Authority, and they had used Ataris in these devices they called robots, which were these like cylindrical things with a touch screen. And they used them in their education center. And so there's this like robot-like thing with a screen, and there's an Atari 1040 in it. And people would come up to it and like a kiosk and learn about energy use or something. So long story short, I got like 30 Atari 1040 STs. I got the robot, this crazy thing. I got a bunch of hard drives with their like educational stuff on it. I don't know, it's just like a time capsule of this company using dozens of Ataris to I have a video of it out there if you're interested. But it was just a bizarre experience. Just like the Ataris they're still over there. I still have most of them, but yeah, lots of stuff like that.
Javier looks like he's drooling.
Yeah, I can bump them.
John, not that I have any. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Oh no, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's since you do find a lot of strange things. Not that I have any insider knowledge on this, but do you sometimes sell things to other collectors?
Sometimes. Yeah, yeah. Let me know, what you're into. But I tend to look at retro as like an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Like why do a 401k if you can like invest in retro and it goes up
Sure.
in value, just like, and then you have all these toys around you. But yeah, no,
Very
I
true.
do sell stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. My precious.
No touching, Javier. Mine.
Yeah, and I've actually I want to start a YouTube show. It's going to be called Retro Resale, kind of like um, American Pickers, except with retro on eBay.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I find the stuff, I buy it, I unpack it, I see if it's what it's supposed to be, and then I list it, sell it, and then at the very last scene of the episode will be like that thing they do in American Pickers. It's like, okay, here's the cost, here's the sale price, here's what we made, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my goal. And I
Right.
seem to have managed the buying stuff part of the plan, but I
Yeah.
haven't managed the making a video and doing that part of it yet. So,
Yeah.
but hopefully soon.
Cool.
And it'll probably make a lot of people mad because people in retro don't tend to like the money aspect. But like I mentioned earlier, it's good that it's worth money. It really is, because that's what's saving the stuff from being scrapped. The fact that
Right.
it's now worth
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. And that's, I think a lot of people, that's, everybody has their dream machine. Like I know there's a lot of Macintosh people that are like, oh, if I could just get it, like a Molar Mac, or if I could just get a Quadra 700 just because of its connection with Jurassic Park and things like that. I think everybody has like, oh my gosh, like this is my dream machine kind of thing. And the, people in the community, when they see those machines kind of come up through like resellers and stuff, I don't know why they take it personal. It's like, they found a deal, or they knew the right person, that they were the ones that went to that
Or they were just lucky.
yeah, they
Yeah.
were lucky. They went to that estate sale or whatever and picked up those items. That could have been you, but you don't live in, Washington State. You live in North Carolina. So,
Right.
It's like a zero sum game kind of thing for some folks, and that's a bad attitude to have. But it is nice that there are people out there that, even if they are financially minded, that will go out and kind of pick those things up and keep them out of the landfill, and
Mhm.
because otherwise it's one fewer machine. It's one fewer
Yeah.
thing out there that people can collect and enjoy.
And that's my message for people too. Like I just, I get so many people coming to me, and it's like, that's fine, but really go to the recyclers. Like the stuff I have has already been saved, but the ones that need saving are the ones that we should go out there and,
Yeah.
because the recyclers, again, they're scrapping all your favorite machines every day. They're all just being shredded.
Right. Retrofox brings up a good point. Yeah, it's all fine until the reseller packs the thing wrong and then it ends up as, like beige dust
Broken.
arrives
Yeah.
in the mail,
Oh,
whatever it is. So
yeah.
I do think that that's partially, especially people that are resellers that aren't maybe as savvy as some of the buyers and things like that. So like I probably would not have a Power Macintosh 5500, or I'm sorry, Performa 550 shipped across the U.S. I mean, I'd probably drive somewhere and pick that up. So, you have to think, you can make some of those deals locally. I mean, if you live in Alaska, probably going to be tough. You're going to have to figure out how to get somewhere. But we have a friend, Will, who lives out of the country, or lives in outside the United States, who travels up here regularly to like mail things and to pick up bits of retro and stuff that he's bought here in the U.S. and then he just takes it back home.
Yeah.
So it's an expensive hobby. It's probably an expensive way of going about it, but I guarantee it keeps things from getting destroyed in the international mail.
Right.
Yeah, I bought
And
a Sharp, MZ2000, just a beautiful, like, it's like Sharp's version of a pet, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought it from Japan, and they shipped it, but then like a month later, it hadn't shown up. And apparently, there's a prohibition of CRTs going from Japan to the U.S. And the seller was like, they confiscated it, and that's it. Like, so, there are just so many sad stories.
Yeah.
Gorgeous machine, absolutely stunning machine, and it's just,
Tell me what CRT tube it had in it. Take the tube out, and I'll source that locally and shove it back in the machine.
Right. Yeah. Just include the neck board, include the
neck board and the yoke.
The yoke, and I'll take it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, and that's very true too. Is there's a lot of international websites and stuff like Yahoo Auctions and stuff that you can go out and purchase things from. I would never, ever in 100 million years purchase directly from Yahoo Auctions Japan. I would use like Bai or like an intermediary, because they know a lot of those rules too. Yeah. So then they'll keep you out of trouble. Or they might have a plan where it's like, okay, well, if you ship it here and then we reship it from this other place, that might bypass some sort of import restriction or something. Yeah. So,
and they also package it correctly, and it tends to survive the trip.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
because there was I can't remember. There was somebody in our group that had bought something from Yahoo Auctions Japan. Maybe they had bought a Color Classic 2 or something, and it had already been damaged by the time that it arrived at Bai or whomever, because the people they put it in a box with like crushed up newspaper, and that wasn't the only thing crushed up by the time it got to them. But thankfully, on those machines, you can pull a faceplate, you can pull a motherboard, and then it becomes that other machine, even with like a US Color Classic or something. So I don't know that it was 100% happy ending, but
yeah,
but
there's
I
so
agree.
much shipping damage.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree with everything Broken Garage. He had made a comment. He said, I just love the hunt. And that's the same. That's the same with me. Like, I went to go pick up a computer, I ended up with 20 laptops and another desktop, and because the guy's like, this is all parts stuff. Do you want them? And I could make some of them go, and made my money back on them.
Yep.
But you don't know until you get out there.
Yeah.
I just went out to buy this one computer, and then he's like, I got this and this and this. Do you want them? And I'm like, yes, done. Don't even have to ask me twice.
Yep.
Cool.
It's addictive.
For sure.
I think we'll need rehab eventually.
Well,
we all
never. Yeah. So let's take a break from the topic, and let's get into let's talk a lot about what's going on in our worlds real quick before we end the stream, because that is a thing we sometimes talk about. But we'll start with you, John. What cool thing are you working on right now? What's the coolest thing you're working on? Do you have an art project that you got working on that you want to hint at, or a big buy of stuff that you're cranking through, or what's going on?
Nothing too exciting, I'm afraid. I have an order for 50 2012s, 13-inch Pros. So getting through those, you can you see them? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Kyle.
So,
wow.
Yeah, and so like,
look at all that room. I am jealous at the organization and space.
So these, so those are like my more. That's where I like make the money. I
make them bigger.
Deal with the.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
But those are the more the newer MacBooks that I deal with.
Wow.
So yeah, that's. I want to switch 100% to retro, but it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like a gas car company trying to switch to electric cars. Like, it's just.
It doesn't happen overnight. Like, that's for sure.
It doesn't happen overnight, and it's less money. So it's like I as much as I want to go 100% retro, like I'm still dealing
Yeah.
with the newer machines because that's the money. So that's what I'm doing.
Cool. What's going on in your world, Javier?
Oh, precisely. I was looking at my new things. You know, I've been just converting more and more joysticks to sell. Just like you do the computers, I do joysticks for Apple
Oh
II.
wow!
I buy them, refurbish them, and then I convert them to Apple II.
You've been sniffing too much of the retrobrite chemicals, Javier.
A lot. And, I make nice cases for them for the connectors, so they look originals. And
Wow,
then
that's great.
And also, I've been doing some 3D lately, not only helping Joe, but I got contacted from on Facebook from a guy that liked my
Javier's design.
oh yeah. So you guys are aware of the LCD Apple IIc LCD, and there's a lot of people that like it. And this guy contacted me that he got the last, I think, 5 LCDs that I used for that conversion, and he asked me if because he bought an LCD, but at the end of the day it worked, so he didn't want to disassemble and convert it to color. So he asked me if we could make the 3D version of the LCD. So I'm working on that too. So hopefully we'll have an LCD 3D printed from the original size.
Cool.
Cheaper. That's what I'm working on right now.
More cost effective. Sorry, sales guy here. We
Yeah.
use the word more cost effective and better value for your money. We never say cheaper to the
Yeah.
customer.
Right.
Trina, what's going on in your world?
What's going on in my world? Well, as of Wednesday, I had 2 different leases signed for 2 different places.
Which is good, but tough to live in 2 places at the same time.
I know.
Yeah. Schrodinger's Trina is what we'll call you.
Yeah, right. Well, and it's interesting because I went from not having a place to having 2. But the first place that I had signed the lease for wasn't available until April 1st, and I have to be out March 1st here, which means I'd have to move twice within.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
wow!
but it was available, and I was able to sign the lease. So I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Blah blah blah. And then on Wednesday, I signed a lease for the second place. That's available March 1st. So I messaged off the other person and said, "I'm so sorry, but I'm going to pass on your place as I can move into this place March 1st."
Right. Yeah.
And so what am I doing? I'm packing.
Oh,
That's my bed right now. So
I don't envy you the process, Trina.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
But
Once every 20 years is enough for me.
well, I hadn't planned on moving out of my place anytime soon, but circumstances were different. So
yeah.
and here I am. But when I move into this place, that's it. I'm done. Like I'll
I'm
probably
never
live there.
moving again. I
Yeah.
say that
Exactly.
every time I move. But then the last time I moved was like 22 years ago. So I think I'm
You're
holding it
pretty
this time.
solid. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty solid.
So that's what's going on in my world. And there was a question, if I can address that had come to me from Everything Broken Garage. I'm asking how is that going to work now that the key is in the BIOS? And it's the same thing. Because newer laptops have the Windows activation key in the BIOS.
Mhm.
As long as you match the OS that was on there. So if it was Pro, Home, Enterprise, what have you, like this flash drive has all of them, then it just automatically activates when you connect it to the internet. And Bob's your uncle.
Mhm.
But that's for the personal. I don't know about the business side, if it's the same way or how they deal with that. But
Yeah, they started doing that with Windows 8, I think.
I
That's
think
when they
so,
started
yeah.
doing the digital licensing,
Right.
hardware licensing.
Mhm.
Tattooing the
I think-
board is the technical term they call it, I think. Tattoo, sexy
Or-
dragon magic. No,
I
No?
don't know
No,
the
Joe.
song. No.
No, Joe.
Van Halen.
But
Anyway,
the
Okay.
But next time you do that, you got to wait for me to be over here reciprocating whatever nonsense you're doing. Yeah. So, but I was gonna say that's the whole thing with building it in, because Microsoft has got institutions, corporate, they've got everybody on that KMS. Yeah, they've got everybody doing that key management stuff to to not have COAs stuck to the side of a machine. So
Cool. What's going on in Ron's world? Other than sleeping for the first 30 minutes of the
I wasn't asleep. Why say asleep? I was at dinner. Sorry, and it ran long, so that made it rough. Made it rough to get here on time. So I apologize for my tardiness. But
I'm just messing.
I will say that probably on the hardware equipment side, I recently acquired a Macintosh Performa 6360, which was the second best Performa model that Apple ever made. It's a desktop machine, and then I now have its tower big sibling that's the 6500. So now I have like the weird. It looks like a caveman to me, because if you don't have the zip drive in there, it's got like a big, huge forehead, like kind of at the top. I mean, they're weird looking machines. I still think they're weird looking, but I sourced one of those the other day, and actually it was really funny because the here, I'll show you. Speaking of how organizations want you to absolutely pull drives and stuff like that out of machines, this one has no hard drive.
Oh my god!
This is the top of the case. This one has no hard drive. You'll never guess what I found in the machine: a hard drive. And it's because somebody had no idea how to take it out, so they were just like, "Well, it ain't like anybody's gonna check. Just ship it." Just send it to the recycler. It'll be fine.
Is that penciled on, or is it like engraved?
No, it's it is absolutely Sharpie. So that'll take a little bit of a little bit of IPA to get that off of there.
Yeah, I've learned to never trust whatever's written on a laptop or on a label or anything, because it's never.
No.
Yeah. It's never 100%. It's the truth from a certain point of view. But I've been working on fixing that stuff up. I actually, just like everybody else, probably in this call, I've been playing around with Blue SCSI 2 stuff. Actually, kind of here. I'll show you something fun that I actually did. And I need to finish documenting this and just get this online. This is no great shakes, but it's just supposed to be something to make people think and get them excited and doing stuff. But I have the 6500 back here, which it's an IDE machine, but as an option, if you have all of your maths and you own one of these ruler things, you can actually mount a Blue SCSI 2 on one of these 5 1/4 bay things for like I guess any Performa that you really want to. Since the new version of the Blue SCSI absolutely goes through and has everything for CD emulation. So yeah. You basically you just figure out the measurements. You get it affixed to the board. You can recycle the interconnect little board that was part of these things from when they were optical drives. And eventually my plan is going to be to have if you think about sort of the faceplate of a CD, have a 3D printable version of that has a SD card slot kind of in there, and then you can use an SD card extender, so that way that if you were to slap this in like because I'm just going to tell you right now, like a 6200, Quadra 630, 6300, 6400, 6500, the IDE in those machines is not real great. So if you want to compare drive access speed and things like that compared to like those old IDE drives, it's not great. But the Blue SCSI 2 is a really great solution for that. So you can pull out that IDE drive, get rid of your optical drive, and slap this in there. And yeah, then you've absolutely got like a really fast storage for your machine with modern sort of sensibilities. So I'm working to finish that up. I hope to have that finished up and out somewhere this week with plans, so that everybody can kind of do their own. I mean, this is 99% of it. If you can see this, if you have two eyeballs, you can figure out the rest of it. But if you want that replacement, like Sabo, like a front, like fake plate and stuff like that, that's going to take a couple days for me to get that all squared away. But that's it.
Pretty
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nike. And now we come to Joe and Joe's world. My world currently is Blue Scuzzy 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
It's
Chop, chop.
make Blue Scuzzy 2, drop an envelope.
Repeat 72 times.
Good.
That's on you. That's on you, brother.
Dude,
You,
and it totally is. I'm like,
you're
I'm
a
going to
victim.
get out there and just have all of the Blue Scuzzy version 2s. And I put 80 of them on my website and they all sold out. Like a freaking idiot.
Victim of your own success.
That's right.
How many of those are assembled, like U-build kits, though, compared to fully assembled ones?
It's about 1/3 to 2/3. About a third of them were assembled.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 2/3 were kits. So that
That's
actually
good.
helped
That's
because they
less-
processed
yeah.
it a little bit faster.
Right.
Nice.
So yeah.
But
Yeah,
you just wait now because you've been mentioned on Adrian
Adrian's, yeah.
channel.
And
wow.
I've had a lot of people, and I love you all. And if you're watching me now, I love every single one of you, but I am going to use this term. I've had a few people come out of the woodwork that I need to teach how to write emails, but that's fine. I love you anyway. We'll talk in email. But no, I did have one gentleman contact me locally in Ohio, and it's relevant to tonight's subject. He works a scrap business. And he's like, I don't let people randomly run through here and just do stuff. They contact me and say, hey, do you have old computers? But he can't really let people do that because of these, what he says, the safety concerns of the
Of
organization.
course.
But he contacted me and he's like, I'm in Ohio. You're in Ohio. If you want to look for stuff, if you have something you're looking for, like just reach out to me. And
Oh, nice.
maybe I'll find it sometime, and maybe we can work on, selling that to you. So that's kind of cool. And he saw Adrian's video, and he's like, he's in Ohio, yay, or whatever. So
Nice.
we'll see if something happens there. It is what it is. He's about 2 hours away from me, so it's not like I can just run out there.
Oh, that might as
at
well be
lunch,
the
but
moon.
still.
That might as well be the moon in Ohio
Yeah.
speak. Because I tell Joe all the time, I'm like, you're 30 minutes away from Columbus, and Joe's like, I can't go there. They know me there.
However, he can drive 2 hours to look through computers.
Yeah,
That's a little different. Yeah,
because it's not Columbus. It's Dayton.
it's Dayton. But yeah, that's what's going on in Joe World. Absolutely nothing but a week of building and building and building and shipping and shipping.
Go the
You
builder.
just wait until that video goes viral. You're going to be retiring.
Well, it's Adrian. Every one of his videos are viral compared to
Yeah.
Yeah.
our stuff.
Scarlet letter, Adrian.
So, I mean, what is that video? How many views does that video have right now? I don't know.
Careful,
Because he
Joe.
has-
Your ego can only take so much.
Videos. 29,000 views. So
Damn.
it's a lower one of his. I mean, his videos tend to get like 60 to 80.
But that's
on
that's
It's
so
a slow
far
burn. It's a slow burn, Joe.
because
And
it was only released yesterday, and we're only on
Right.
Sunday, and it's the
Oh,
weekend.
that's right. I was
Yeah.
able to see it early, so I've been thinking it's been out for like 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, no.
Because if anybody who here doesn't know about Adrian's Digital Basement, but yeah, he had. I learned through, it might have been through Geek with Social Skills or somebody else. I learned that Adrian was fighting this Apple II with this bad keyboard. And I sell replacement keyboard encoders for every Apple II that exists except the Apple II GS. And I just reached out to Adrian. It's like, hey, Adrian, I'll just give you one. If all you got to do is say, hey, I got it from Joe. I'll just give you one so you can get this thing fixed and get your video done. So I just shipped him one, and he did the name drop.
it's kind of a niche product, though, too. So
Yeah.
but it is good to get the name out there. I've not been following this Adrian's Digital Basement, but I have been watching Ariana's Analog Attic, and if you ever show up on there, I will be sure to click the link, Joe.
Wait, talking about those names.
Sounds great.
You guys heard about the RRR, the retro something roundup that they just came out last week for these games like Ultima. What's the name of it?
Well, it's not Retro Repair Roundup. That's the show we're on, Javier.
Well, no, they came out with a very similar name to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Retro
I'll find it.
Repair. Yeah.
Well, I will have
Rascals.
my non-existent lawyer call their non-existent lawyer.
Yeah,
and they're gonna
that's what I'm
talk about that.
Gee,
So
Retro RPG Roundup.
that
Okay,
one. That one.
Oh, okay.
Role-playing games. Yeah.
Well, that's a mouthful. Retro role-playing game roundup. That's not going to fit on a business card.
Joe, everything
Yes.
is Broken Garage wants to know if you noticed any increase in your subs.
That is a really good question. Let me do the thing as
Let
if
me
I
get-
pay attention to my YouTube channel anymore.
Hold on. Wait. Joe's
Here's the thing,
ego
Joe.
is going to start escaping the frame here in a second, guys.
No, seriously, I don't really. My YouTube channel does not. I don't do a lot on it anymore. 117 in the last 28 days, according to just Surface Analytics. Audience, subscribers. Since yesterday, I've gotten 77. So
Wow. That's not bad.
that's cool. That's
Pretty
cool.
good for a day.
That's pretty. Yeah, seeing how my average is 0.
But don't
gain
worry,
one, I
Joe.
lose
But
one.
don't worry, Joe. Those numbers are going to go up after Tuesday because what's happening on Tuesday evening?
Tuesday evening, we are going to be doing our Marchintosh intro stream. Right? Did I get it right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. I remembered the right thing.
Where's my
Yes,
invitation?
it's the Marchintosh 2023 kickoff meeting. Is
Yes.
this coming Tuesday? It will be at 8 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock, or I'm sorry, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain, 5 o'clock Pacific. Show up and share your ideas of things you're going to do for Marchintosh. If you're not familiar with Marchintosh, it is a month-long event taking place in March of all months, celebrating classic Macintosh interest. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just oh, I'm working on a computer. It could be art projects. It could be poetry. It could be like a painting. It could be
I want to do poetry.
it could be a dish that you prepare that is inspired by classic Apple kind of stuff. So it's wide open. You can go to marchintosh.com and get more information about that.
And speaking of marchintosh.com, Steve of Mac84 fame is the one who updates the website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Of course.
he
Hi,
certainly sure does.
So yeah, remember, we're going to be having our kickoff stream to talk about what we want to do for Marchintosh this year. There'll be a lot of the same that we always do. It's March, it's Macintosh. We love our Macs, we love our Apples, and we're going to be loving all over that.
How about the
But remember to hashtag your content, hashtag Marchintosh, or hashtag Marchintosh 2023 if you want to make sure it's specific to this year for the filtering.
No, we're doing away with the year. We're doing away with the year.
We're doing away with the
Marchintosh.
year.
We're just doing Marchintosh, so that way that we're not cannibalizing. Because last year it was very confusing to have to follow multiple
Okay.
hashtags and things like that. So we're going to try it this year where we don't cannibalize our primary hashtag with having people trying to make it a specific year.
Go back in time and gag me. I did not say that other thing. I said hashtag Marchintosh,
Yeah.
#sign Marchintosh, pound Marchintosh, Octothorpe Marchintosh. Do it.
And Javier,
Ich bin ein Marchintosh.
and Javier's just become a 1990s website with his animated GIFs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's accessible on old Macintoshes. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And another thing, because Actually, there's been folks that have even done videos about using Macintosh software on other machines. So it's like through emulation. Don't let that be the reason why you're not participating.
You don't have a hardware Mac? I don't care. Run Mini VMac and show us your HyperCard stack. We don't care.
Yeah.
You've got an implant board in a Amiga 4000. I don't have plans for that. Shut up. That's fine too. Do it. Get it out there and do the thing, because Macs are awesome.
Yep.
Do it. Cool. Javier's doing something.
I lost it. I was gonna show it, but I lost it. As always. Anyway,
it happens.
We don't want to know.
Yeah,
right.
We know you've lost it, buddy. It's fine. Okay. Well, I think that has been a super awesome stream for tonight. John, why don't you tell everybody who's been watching tonight how they can find you? What's your website? What's your Twitter handle? All of that stuff, so that they can find you on the internet and follow your cool stuff that you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's all, my company is Roadkill Incorporated, and my handle everywhere is RDKL, as in Roadkill INC. So at RDKLINC on YouTube, Twitter, basically everywhere.
Cool. Awesome sauce. Javier!
Guess what? You can find me at Habmaster at bigbang.social and at Habmaster at, you can see that underneath this. And then, hold on to your horses. You can also, where is it?
Click the button in OBS that he forgot to find.
Here it is.
There it is.
There it is.
ABTs, the best t-shirt store on the web. On the web.
Oh, nice.
There you go. There's his Linkadoodles.
Yeah, ABTs. You gotta do it. Just do it. Do it. No, and also if you want, also I'm in Patreon or Coffee if you want to support me. I've been doing a lot of 3D stuff and other projects. Oh, and I forgot to talk about. You guys remember that I'm waiting for my clear front for the Apple II.
Yes.
Remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
I do.
So I did a program about I sent this to PCB Way, and they're working it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited, and I just can't hide it that I'm gonna get a 3D printed clear version of this.
Cool.
Wow.
Are
So
you
that's
going to have
beautiful.
those available for sale?
Well, my plan is let's see how much they charge me or how much they are, and I'm just gonna let them sell it directly over there, so I don't make any money. I don't know. We'll see.
But you did all the work, Javier. You should at least
Maybe I'll talk to them. Maybe I
Something for
can make a deal that they can make like a 20 or 30 for me, because I don't think they're gonna sell that much, and it's a big investment to pay a lot of money for upfront. So
Right.
we'll see.
In any case, it sounds like an amazingly generous thing that you're going to bring away to that Wednesday night sort of like get together at Kansas Fest.
Yep.
Just giving them away like business cards. Fliff. Yeah.
Well, now that we're talking about Kansas Fest, you guys know about Kansas Fest.
I don't know anything about Kansas Fest, Javier.
What is Kansas Fest, Javier?
Kansas Fest is a festival, an Apple II get together that it happens every year, and this year it's going to be in Kansas.
Oh, wow.
Kansas City.
Kansas City, Missouri.
Missouri, yeah. So anyway, one of the highlight things is that we're going to have the garage giveaway, the traditional garage giveaway, and also and guess who donated a lot of the stuff for that this year? Was
it Mr. Sean Fahey?
Well, not Sean coordinated everything, but Roger Wagner.
Oh, wow.
Big programmer. Yeah. He had a huge collection, and there was 2 big pallets of
That's
his
amazing.
stuff, and a lot of them are going to be donated in the garage giveaway. So
that's awesome. You heard it here first.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say.
Cool.
Back to you guys.
Awesome. Trina,
Hey,
Now that Javier like sucked up 45 minutes.
I know.
Or
I
it's-
nearly fell asleep listening to him.
Well, that was mostly because all the air was being taken out of the room.
Exactly.
So I just
Exactly.
was like,
Hypoxia. Anyway, love you, Javier. Trina, go.
You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com at Trina's Technobabble, on Twitter at Technobabble and eventually you'll find me at my new place.
come and knock on our door.
Right? Yep.
Do you
And
wanna
I'll be doing a live stream on the 2nd of March because I'll have my fancy dancy new internet and I'll take the day and move in and
Gonna have better internet than me.
yeah.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Oh, that's right. You live in a free country. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in Canada.
conform?
Well, just come move up here. Come on.
Yeah, it's mhm.
You know, I hear the immigration process for Canada is actually quite strict. I don't know if they were.
Plus, I've never seen Joe wear anything other than a T-shirt. I think that he would just be dead the first day.
Well, but he's in Ohio, so it's not like the temperature's that much different. So he'll
Yeah.
be fine.
We know how to deal. I'm in the basement. It's 54 degrees down here year round. It's the same temperature all the time. I've acclimated to it. It's fine.
There you go.
Cool. Ron.
Hey, y'all, it's Ron from Ron's
from
Computer
Ron's
Videos.
Videos.
As Joe is so kind of saying. Hey, I just want to let you know that if you're interested in keeping up on anything that I'm doing, you can head over to ronscompvids.com. That'll take you to my link tree, which is something that Trina needs. A link tree. They're free. Just go get it. And then you can follow me on my various projects there. I did a live stream last night. I think I've got part of my streaming stuff finally squared away for doing games and things like that on the stream. So I had a really great time. Trina stopped by. Adam stopped by. We had a lot of cool people that played games with us kind of through chat. And we'll have to do that again. Yeah, and Ron can record your voicemail. All you have to do is head over to cameo.com, and you can look me up there, just Ron McAdams, and yeah, I can do the voicemail for your phone.
Javier's candle.
I'm just
Okay.
showing
Oh my
off the amazing Ron.
I
If
still,
you need something to work, you gotta turn, the candle.
but Javier, I want one of your candles. So
Yeah.
you gotta start making them again.
Everybody
All right.
does. They'll be available at Kansas Fest. See you at Kansas Fest.
Oh yeah.
I can't make it to Kansas.
They'll be
so-
at VCF Midwest. See you at VCF Midwest.
done.
Cool. Javier, are you making it to VCF Midwest this year?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Good. Amazing.
I mean, I'm from the South, so I don't know anybody at the Midwest, so I need to see all the folksy.
I have my hotel room reserved there at the venue, so we will have to all get
Let's
together
talk.
and do like a live version of the podcast or something.
Did they
It's called
release-
physically be in the same location.
Yep.
Did they release the code for the?
They have
Like
not.
how?
If you reach out to the organizers of the event and just say, "Hey, I think I might have been missed on the email," they might send it to you. I don't know. It's
Okay.
You'll have to see. So I think right now they're trying to cover guests and people that did panels and stuff last year, which is why kind of I was in the loop on some of that stuff. And I think as soon as everybody kind of pings back, I mean, because the event's in September and they have blocked out the entire hotel. There will be plenty of rooms. If you try to do it September 1st, you're going to have a bad time. But
Yep.
if you take care of it in the next like month, it'll probably be fine. And they don't charge a card till you show up, so it's really just, and you can
cool.
cancel your reservation the day before because they already know they're going to have somebody else clamoring to then pay Johnny Come Lately rates on those rooms. So that's
I'm
it.
going to try and make it
Thank you.
this year, I think.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing to see you.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great opportunity. There's a lot of neat stuff there. I some of the biggest content I've done on my channel is just kind of going through and talking to people at channels and just kind of you absolutely can. You can park in they have a huge parking lot there. Just
Well, my question
get
is,
there early.
is his VW bus going to make it all the way to Chicago from Newfoundland? Is it going to make it?
Probably.
Chicago.
Joe,
Because
can
that would
you
be
say,
basically all of the mileage you're ever supposed to put on a bus. So
Joe, can you say Newfoundland again, please, for me?
I said it, Newfoundland,
Yeah, that's like a very Midwest way to say it. It's Newfoundland.
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 Please.
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. I see it like we do in Wisconsin. Okay. Last and most importantly, the absolute least. Hi, everybody. My name's Joe. Joe Snyder of Joe's Computer Museum. Welcome to my wonderful museum, where it's full of nothing but blue scuzzy boxes and regret. If you want to support me, you can support me multiple different ways. You can go to jcm-1.com and buy a blue scuzzy when I actually decide to put them back in stock. You go to Joe's Computer Museum for $1 a month. On my Patreon, you can, I don't know, hang out with me in Discord, get private links to my streams when I'm streaming, and just hang out with me while I'm streaming as a guest on my streams for $1 a month. If you increase that to higher levels, I put your names on my videos. I send you mugs in the mail, all different types of cool stuff. So you can do that. And if you want to follow me on all the different medias and things, you can follow me at museumjoe@oldbytes.space on the Mastodons. I am still technically on Twitter at museumjoe if you want to follow me there until that garbage fire burns out and fades away. Again, jcm-1.com. Get your cool stuff there. Okay, I'm done shilling. That's enough. All right. It has been a super awesome stream tonight. Again, I want to thank John very much for being our guest. Your topic and your input on that subject
Thank you so much.
was super, super awesome. We do appreciate
Thank you guys.
stuff.
Great to meet you guys, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Anytime. Again, thanks to our hosts, and thanks to all of our guests in the stream that had lots of wonderful questions for our guest, and lots of other input on whether or not a VW will actually make it from Newfoundland to the United States.
There's only one way. We're gonna find out, I guess, in September.
Actually, I just
No.
checked with the Tappet brothers that it's a strong maybe.
Yeah, just just look for the big blue cloud of it burning smoke because and we'll see. Again, remember to lasso that like button and spur that subscribe button and other YouTube-y things, because that makes sure that our channel gets shown to people who like stuff that you like as well, and it spreads the name around. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. See you, everybody. Bye. Here's where we get to see if the button actually logs me out.